gentlemen, we as a proposition believe that what a child is taught at school affects them for the rest of their lives. And that is why we believe that nationalism should not be a part of the school curriculum. So for the definition, nationalism, we define the word nationalism as imposing the good beliefs that you have of your country on others and making other people believe what you believe in your country and forcing them to do so. No place, meaning that it shouldn't be there because we don't feel that it fits in with the school curriculum. And the school curriculum is basically what you are taught at school, what you are taught using textbooks and school funds. So now, what we as a proposition aim to prove to you throughout the course of today's debate is that nationalism in the curriculum harms the way a child and country operates on an internal and external basis, and thus it has a negative effect on society. Our case split for today, I, speaker number 1, will be speaking to you on development and prioritization. Speaker number 2 is going to be handling international relationships, and I will be doing the reply speech. So ladies and gentlemen, at the outset of today's debate, we as a proposition would like to clarify the difference between patriotism and nationalism. We say that patriotism is having a love for your country. And we as a proposition like that. We believe that yes, you should love the country that you live in. But what we are against is when you impose this on other people. What we are against is when you impose your cultural and political views on other people in that particular country. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what a nationalist does. A nationalist forces their beliefs on others. And that's not what we want in society, because we don't want this to happen in society. So looking at my first issue for today's debate, that being development. So I'm going to be analyzing this on 3 different levels. Now on the first level, let's look at how a child develops. We see that at a young age, a child is like a sponge and it takes in everything around them. So therefore, by nationalism being a part of the school curriculum, it's going to be affecting the way a child operates in the years to come and in the future and throughout the course of their lives. And we see that this is detrimental to society because throughout the course of our case, we're going to be proving to you why exactly nationalism is negative and detrimental to society. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we see that by it being imposed on a child at such a young age, it hinders the development of a child. So on a second level, we see that whilst nationalism is being taught at school, we see what it's doing is it's forcing one-track ideas onto the child. It's creating a single-minded society with no diversity. And that's not what we want. We want diversity in society. We want people who can tell us what they believe. We want people to be able to express themselves, and we don't want other people to force their beliefs on people in society, because that's what we're against. And now we look at it in aspects of a country, and we see in certain Middle Eastern countries, there are strong Muslim views there that are against the way a woman should behave, and they're against homosexuals. And ladies and gentlemen, we see that because of nationalism being such a strong part of the school curriculum, it's going to make children believe that their views of the views in their country is right. It's going to make them believe that it's okay to treat women badly. It's going to make them believe that homosexuals are not allowed in society. And that's not what we like. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we see that this affects the way that they relate to people on a local and global level. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it hinders the way that they associate with people and the way that they accept people in society. Because we want, and I'll take you in a moment, sir, we want people to be accepted in society. Yes, sir.
I'm pleased to say that when we put nationalism, when nationalism doesn't have a place in the educational curriculum. Like now, you're not studying in my own country, you're not studying my school curriculum. You don't know anything about my school curriculum. Don't you think it improves international integrity? It makes like you value my own educational curriculum and I value your own educational curriculum.
No. But like, if you put nationalism as a part of the curriculum, wouldn't that also make you believe that your school curriculum is the only thing that's right? Wouldn't that also make you believe that the way what you're being taught at school is not right, and that other countries and other school curriculums is not right, and that's going to affect you and the way you associate with other countries? But my second speaker is going to be analyzing international relations, and I'm not going to deal too much with that. So now, on a third level, we look at the fact that by imposing nationalism on children, it's going to eliminate the chance that they have to formulate their own opinions and their own beliefs. And that's going to eliminate room for discussion and debate in society, because they're going to be one-trapped and single-minded. And that's not what we want. We want a society that can debate and a society that can argue with each other, because not everyone believes the same thing. Not everyone is a nationalist, and everyone has different ideas and views as to how the country should be run and as to what exactly the country is doing.
Information.
So now for my second issue in today's debate, I'm going to be looking at this issue of prioritization. So under this, I'm going to be looking at the current problems we face in our education system and how exactly putting nationalism in the school curriculum doesn't deal with the problems in the educational system. So now what exactly are the problems in the educational system? In many countries around the world, the educational system and the standard of education is very low. We see that because it's low, these children aren't getting a proper education. So what we as a proposition fail to understand is, why should you put nationalism into the school curriculum when you can better spend your time in improving other things in the school curriculum, when you can improve the level of maths in the school curriculum, where you can improve the way languages are taught to people, where you can provide better facilities and better training for teachers, where you can help children reach the capacity that they need to reach. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we say that instead of focusing on nationalism, which, ladies and gentlemen, shouldn't be allowed in society, we see that they should rather focus on adapting the curriculum in school and modifying it to improve the standard of education in a particular school. And what we need to see from side opposition in today's debate is how exactly putting nationalism in the school curriculum is going to improve the school curriculum. We need to see how it's going to benefit children in the long run. We need to see how nationalism is beneficial to the country and to the children. And that's what they need to prove to us throughout the course of their speech. Now, on a second level, under prioritization, I'm looking at finances. So we said if nationalism is a part of the school curriculum, money is going to be invested into it. We said money is going to be spent on textbooks. Money is going to be spent on training people to educate these children about nationalism. And that's not what we like in society. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we feel that this money can be better invested elsewhere. We see that this money can be better invested in improving the facilities in a particular school. We see that we have children in Africa that don't have proper schooling facilities. We have children that are not attending proper schools. We have children that have bad schooling facilities. So instead of adding nationalism to the school curriculum, why can't we use that money to improve the facilities and to provide better facilities? And we see that because we see that the money coming from this is going to be given by the government. And by giving and we see that this is detrimental. We see that because the government is giving it to the people, it hinders government funding as well, because they're going to have to allocate more money to school curriculum and to education in the country. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, for the fact that nationalism hinders development of a child, and the education standards in the country need to be improved, we feel that the motion can do nothing but stand.
Just 1 second. Just a technical check. Now I would like the first speaker of the opposition team to continue the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wait, sorry, before you begin. The clock, I'm just confused. It's going from 8 lower and then all of a sudden it's increasing.
Yeah, it's over time.
So, okay.
Is it 30 seconds grace or 15 seconds?
That's what the judges said.
Okay, in that case it's 15. So please, at 15 seconds over. Don't let him continue speaking.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, and my wonderful co-debaters. My name is Etienne Nonsunita. I'm representing Team Nigeria, and I'm here to strongly support my team in opposing the motion which states that this House believes that nationalism has no place in the school curriculum. In my team, we are going to be putting our argument in the following aspects: the cultural aspects, the educational curriculum in particular, discrimination, political aspects, disintegration, lack of cohesion, breach in diplomatic activities, underestimation of educational curriculum, patriotism, educational differences, and evaluation of our educational curriculum. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, my wonderful co-debaters, that is the area in which my team will be argumenting on. But first of all, I overheard my opponents talk about the educational system, that the countries that nationalism should not be put, that in case of education, that they should find their place in improving math. I kind of agree with that a little, but that doesn't make any sense. It has no connection with the debate that we're doing. Okay, thank you for supporting me, actually, because they say that they should concentrate on increasing math. If nationalism is put into the educational system, if they put concentration on this math subject, which we talked about in other subjects of the world, to also increase the educational system of that very particular nation. You see, when nationalism is not put in these terms of education, when nationalism is not being concentrated on, no one will concentrate on their educational system. Because, for example, like we have a foreign exchange, between two students. I from Nigeria come to South Africa, and you from South Africa come to Nigeria. I as a student, no please, thank you. I as a student will be able to concentrate on my own,
So please.
no please, thank you. I as a student will be able to concentrate on what I wanted to do. No please, thank you.
Okay.
I as a student will be able to concentrate on what I wanted to do. But you will be able, you too will be able to concentrate on what I want to do. Please hold on 1 minute. But you see, when nationalism is put in place, we are going to see that they are going to be concentrated, because there is no other there is no other culture there to distract them for their educational activities.
Okay, hi sir. I don't think you understand the difference between nationalism and patriotism. It doesn't mean because you are not, doesn't mean because you're imposing nationalism that obviously the country's matters.
Please, I understand what you're trying to say. You're saying that I don't understand the difference between patriotism and nationalism. But may I let you know that these two things are together. Nationalism means the law. Nationalism can be said to be patriotism, because patriotism means the love you have for a nation, and nationalism can be said to be which particular country you come from. So you think these two merges together. You also talked about how do you say in violation of school and religious aspect. My dear friend, my argument to that you were practically talking about celibacy. This debate that we're talking about doesn't concern celibacy. You talked about Islam and how the world is discriminating against women, how the world are not giving women allocation. We particularly talk about celibacy. Mr. Speaker, they will talk about celibacy. They will not talk about the school curriculum, and they will not talk about nationalism. And in case of population, and in case of no, please, thank you. And then we go to international diplomacy. It supports international diplomacy, because we can now see my opponent said that he doesn't support international diplomacy when nationalism is better. But may I let you that he supports international diplomacy. Now that I'm through with the argument on my opposition side, I'd like to go into my own argumentation. Then we go into the educational differences. Mr. Speaker, when we go to educational differences, we cannot say that South Africa, they have a different school curriculum. And also in Nigeria, we have a different school curriculum. So like in Nigeria, we practice 633. In South Africa, the school curriculum in Nigeria is 633. In South Africa, they might be practicing 533. So now see that there will be educational system, there will be educational differences and educational changes. Like if I go to Nigeria, they might say that Nigerian school curriculum is far more longer than the South African school curriculum. So you now see that there are educational differences. No, please, thank you. And see that there are educational differences. And that's why nationalism should be established and should not be slighted. Let you say that nationalism should be established and should be supported in every part of the world. Because we now say when there is nationalism, there will be no educational differences, there will be no discrimination against any part of the world. Okay, no, please, thank you. I'll take yours, please. I'll take yours.
So we're saying that we're imposing our cultural beliefs on our children, saying that it's the best. So how are we going to have better international relationships if you think yours is the best and I think mine is the best? I don't think.
Okay, thank you very much. I heard your opponent talk about diplomatic relationship, but I kind of like the question. But I support what you're trying to say. You said about that if a child is like a sponge, they absorb whatever they say. What if they come and absorb the bad things of the other world? Is that good diplomatic relationship? Diplomatic relationship should be developing other parts of the world in which a diplomat is sited, in which a diplomat is located. It's supposed to be developing other parts of the world. But when you talk about a diplomatic relationship, which we kind of talking about, I mean, I say it has to be, it doesn't concern the topic in which we are talking about. And then we go into disintegration. Nationalism doesn't mean about disintegration like my first proposition speaker was talking about. Nationalism is about integration. Because like, for example, in Nigeria, we have different groups. We have the Hausa, the Yoruba, even parts of the world. And like in Czech, we have Moravia, we have other parts of the world. So, thank you, sir. And in South Africa, they have all like Johannesburg, they have so many parts, including the Madiba, so we have different parts of the world. So like, it brings about integration. Why don't you let's put it in a logical manner? You come from Czech Republic, I come from Nigeria. They like you can't say that everyone was integrated. No, please, thank you. You can't say that everyone was integrated in all parts of the world. In all parts of my country. Then you just come into my country, you start disintegrating things. We won't be able to focus on our cultural aspect. No, please, thank you. We won't be able to concentrate on our own cultural aspect. Okay, my dear opening. This foreign exchange thing that we're talking about. Okay, it's no, please, thank you. In this foreign exchange thing that we're talking about. Okay, I agree. It's kind of good. You say that it improves diplomatic relations with other partners. I agree a little. But it's always a but. We cannot say that in these terms of foreign exchange mission, Nigerians who go to USA for their own school, for their school curriculum, they don't really understand how things are done in the other parts of the world. Thereby causing fights, bringing about disintegration in all parts of the world. So you say that educated that the nationalism should not be a part of the school curriculum in all parts of the world. Doesn't make it has no base. It doesn't even concern what we are talking about. It's a question.
Okay, thank you. Please explain to me what this South Africa and Johannesburg and Nigeria countries, etc., has to do with what nationalism is and how this should be in the school curriculum.
Thank you very much. Now I was talking about integration. Like I was talking about South Africa, Johannesburg. Now you see that they are integrated in the educational curriculum, in the school curriculum. They have one curriculum. In Nigeria, we have one curriculum. Then you come from your own curriculum and come into the Nigerian system of into the Nigerian school curriculum. You're going to be confused because in South Africa you practice 533. No, please, thank you. No, please, thank you. In South Africa you practice 533. In Nigeria you practice 533. No, please, thank you. You're going to see that it doesn't make any sense in any particular. I'm not pleased. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, when we go to the underestimation of our educational curriculum in any school, we not say like in underest any educational system. If nationalism is not put in place, we won't be able to value anyone's educational curriculum. Let me say school curriculum. Like for example, I stay in Nigeria. I study all my whole life in Nigeria. I value my school curriculum. You stay in your own country. You value your own school curriculum. And then we come into an international debate tournament like this. You ask me about my own curriculum, and I tell you about my own school curriculum. We not say that. We value this time. Your time is over, please.
Time is over.
And we now value our own school curriculum. You value your own school curriculum because the way you tell me, I'll be enjoying what you tell me. And the way I tell you, I'll also be enjoying what I tell you. So when you say, my dear opponent, I don't say you don't have any base in what you're trying to say. And in case of patriotism, I let you know that Iran and Iraq, they are very patriotic people, like we're talking about, and it also concerns nationalism. You can't see anybody go to Iraq or Iran just to go and study. But you not see that in case of this nationalism, this is where it comes because they practice nationalism. And Iraq, even though it is being worked on by the different world which have been taking place, their school curriculum is improving. We now see that they are really focusing on Islam. And now we see that most of the best scholars in Islam are from Iraq. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Right now, I would like the second speaker of the team proposition to continue this debate. Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, I liked Team Opposition's case in today's debate, but unfortunately I liked it for all the wrong reasons because they came up over here and conceded to basically what we were saying in today's debate. We liked this case in today's debate because they come up over here and tell us about confusion when we're leaving other countries to go into another syllabus, ladies and gentlemen, and how you can't adapt to it. We like this. But really, to have a good debate in today, we need Team Nigeria to come up over here and clarify their stance, whether they like nationalism or whether they don't. Because we believe that nationalism causes all of the problems of which they've been addressing so far in their speeches today. So unfortunately, I don't have much to refute in today's debate because most of it was contradictions and basically supporting our case. But I won't disappoint now, ladies and gentlemen. So let's first look at respect globally. Now, we don't believe that this respect is going to be maintained due to the fact that we are imposing the culture and country values on a single person, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that by imposing these values on people, we believe that they won't be able to integrate with other people properly because they're going to feel that their values are superior, exactly what nationalism is teaching them in today's debate. And then they came up with this point about integration between different parts of a country. Now we liked this, ladies and gentlemen, it was strong. But we see that we don't need to go through all of these levels, going to teach nationalism and incurring all of these detriments to achieve this. We're saying that a simple thing like the Soccer World Cup in South Africa can integrate and bring people together in a country. All people of different backgrounds come together to support one cause. We're saying that we don't have to force all of these beliefs, we don't have to force all of these negative things to achieve this in today's debate. We're saying that it can be achieved simply. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to move on to my positive matter. Now, moving on to my first point, and I have one point in today's debate, being that of international relationships, which I will be looking at on two levels, being short-term and long-term. But firstly, let's look at political affairs, ladies and gentlemen. Now we see that by imposing nationalism in our country, we're teaching children that all of the things that happen in our country is correct. Now we see that we're taking South Africa for an example. Because the ANC, the ruling body of our country, held under the control of Nelson Mandela, helped our country and uplifted our country, we're teaching them that they are the right body to support in today's debate, ladies and gentlemen. But we're saying that Nelson Mandela is not always going to be ruling the ANC. And in fact, we believe that the ANC is now becoming corrupt, spending 200 million on unnecessary things like developing houses. But unfortunately, our people are too blind because of nationalism, ladies and gentlemen. We're teaching them that because these people saved our country, we need to conform to everything they say, ladies and gentlemen. And we see that we don't have a true democracy within our country. Because
information, sir.
Okay, sir.
And please, what you're trying to say, what you're trying to say, I don't really see how it concerns what we are trying to talk about it. Because you're talking about nationalism and school curriculum, and you're talking about political effects, what it does have, what
okay,
political
thank you, sir. I'll explain that now. Now we see that when we have nationalism in school, we're teaching children all these things, we're imposing all these values and showing them that these things are right in today's debate. And we see that when they grow up, when they reach that age, that potential age, ladies and gentlemen, all the influences they had as a child stick with them. And we believe that they're going to conform and they're going to use this beliefs in their dealings with society at large. So therefore, we see that that we are affected politically in today's debates. Now let's look at society under nationalism. Now we see children and adults were taught that their culture and that their country is above all. We see that this causes a sort of xenophobic situation in our country, in the sense that when someone else comes with different beliefs, different values than what you were taught to always stick to and to was always superior, we see that you're not going to deal properly with these people in today's debate. We see that when foreigners come into your country, we believe that because of your nationalistic ideas, that you are superior, that everything that you do is superior, because your country says it's superior, we believe that you won't be objective in your dealings with these people. You believe that everything that they're doing is wrong because they support something that your country doesn't. And we see that this affects us in two ways in today's debates. It affects our tourism. And we see that we like tourism in our country because tourism brings in a lot of revenue and economy in our country, ladies and gentlemen. We see that tourism contributes magnitudinally to the way we as a country develop. And we're saying that by pushing our tourism away, we're saying that this is affecting us as a country. And on the second level, we're looking at immigrants, ladies and gentlemen. We're saying that these immigrants could possibly improve our country in the sense that they have skills that we as a country might not have. But we're not going to respect these immigrants. We're not going to welcome them openly into our country because we believe, ladies and gentlemen, that they're wrong. All the things that they stand for and believe in is wrong. And we believe that we're pushing these immigrants away. We're pushing development in our country away, ladies and gentlemen. And we're saying that we don't like this. We don't support this. Now moving on to the second level of my argument in today's debate, being long-term effects. Now firstly, colonization, ladies and gentlemen. We see that you as a country are taught nationalism, ladies and gentlemen, and we see that you become nationalistic people in today's debates. And because you're nationalistic, you want to impose these views, you want to impose these beliefs, ladies and gentlemen. We see that this is affecting us detrimentally in the long run. And I'm going to look at this on two levels. Firstly, we're going to look at colonization, ladies and gentlemen. We see that because the British people believed in nationalism and believed that their country was right above all others, their culture was right above all others. When they went to Africa, when they discovered Africa, when they were with Africa, it affected the way that they dealt with Africa. We believe that they colonized Africa, ladies and gentlemen. We see that they forced Africa to do things that Africa wouldn't usually do. They forced Africa and developed Africa and actually caused apartheid in South Africa, that being the discrimination of other races. And we see that because of all of these nationalistic views, it's affecting us internationally. It's affecting the way we as Britain relate with South Africa. And we see that it affected us in the long run, in the sense that we as South Africa are now always skeptical in our dealings with Britain. So we see that this affects international relationships on a large scale and on a large level, ladies and gentlemen. So moving on to my last issue under this point on diplomacy. So, as a country, we feel that our views and our culture is superior, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier on. We believe that everything when we say is wrong, which is not necessarily right, when we say that this is not necessarily true, and this affects the way that you deal with other people internationally. We see that it affects the way we as a board negotiate with distributors overseas, ladies and gentlemen. We're saying that it affects the way we deal with them because we believing that what we're doing and what we're saying is right in today's debate, and we're saying that they're wrong, and we're saying that they as a country believe that we're being disrespectful in today's debate. On a first level, they won't want to negotiate with us because they find us unapproachable, ladies and gentlemen, because we're imposing all of these views. And secondly, we're saying that we as a country won't want to buy into them, ladies and gentlemen, because we believe that what they're doing is wrong, what they're saying is wrong, and we won't want to negotiate with them on the level that we believe is important in today's debate. So, ladies and gentlemen, it can only be deduced in today's debate that nationalism is bad within a country, within the relationships with a country, and relationships with other countries. So with that, I thank you.
I would like to invite the second speaker of the opposition to continue.
Mr. Speaker, my esteemed co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Deborah Francis Ikwe. I'm representing Team Nigeria. I'm here to support my first speaker and to oppose the motion which states this House believes that nationalism has no place in the school curriculum. I overheard my opponent saying that nationalism does not help the student that nationalism destroys the religious of the student. But I would like to enlighten you that nationalism, in terms of religious aspect, it helps a lot because it gives the children freedom to share their religious beliefs with each other. I will bring my religion, I will discuss how my religion is with you, and you also discuss how your religion is with me. I also heard my opponent saying that in terms of nationalism in educational curriculum, that the students don't have enough. Please hold on. That the students don't have enough chance to express themselves and give opinions. But let me enlighten you that when there is nationalism in school curriculum, the children, they have the freedom, they have the right to share their feelings, to share their opinions with each other, and this brings about cooperation, unity, and much more. I also heard my opponent saying that when there is nationalism in school curriculum, that it devalues the school curriculum. But I would like to tell you that when there is nationalism in school curriculum, it values, please hold on, it values the educational curriculum a lot. Because I as a Nigerian might go to USA to study there, and with this, because of their school curriculum, I might like to be studying there throughout the whole of my life, and with this, their own educational curriculum is valued. Please go on.
And please can you explain your view of nationalism to me?
Sorry?
Please explain your view of nationalism, your definition of it.
Nationalism, it can be defined as a different countries coming together. Nationalism can be defined as different countries which come together in terms of educational aspect to share their feelings with each other. I also overheard my opponent saying that the nationalism. I also overheard my opponent saying that in terms of nationalism in educational aspect, there is decrease in population. But let me enlighten you. As I said earlier on, that if let me enlighten you that if, for example, Ghana goes to USA to go and study there, you will see because Ghana likes to go and study in USA, they have the patriotism, they have the feeling, they have the love for that country because of the way they are teaching there. And with this, there is a lot of population. There is overpopulation there, and also through this population, they have enough feelings to express themselves. They'll because when they are much, they will be able to gather themselves and study and build a better future for themselves. Unity. When there is nationalism in educational curriculum, it brings about unity because the Ghana must like to go to USA, and when they go to USA to go and study, you see there will be please thank you. You see there will be unity in between Ghana and USA, and they will live in peace. Cultural aspect. You see, my esteemed co-debaters, that through nationalism in school curriculum, the youth they might have the feelings, they can express they can explain their cultural things within themselves. I can tell you about my culture, and you can also tell me about your culture. And through this, I'll have some knowledge about what is going on in your culture. No, please, thank you. Educational curriculum. You know, please, ma'am. Please, no, please, thank you. Educational curriculum. When there is nationalism in the school curriculum, the individual, no, please, thank you. The individual can study within themselves. Through this, when they are in a group, because of how they are much, when they are in a group, they can express themselves, they can study, no, please, thank you. They can study within themselves, they group themselves, and also they can express their feelings. And so, true, when they are studying together, they gain more knowledge. Discrimination. When there is nationalism in school curriculum, it's reduced the number of discrimination. No, please, thank you. Because when there is this, because you can see, if there was no nationalism in the school curriculum, a lot of people, no, please, thank you. A lot of people will have like to discriminate themselves because of the way, say for example, the color. But with nationalism in educational curriculum, there is no discrimination among themselves. They can easily identify each other and also express their feelings without any discrimination among them. Please, ma'am. No, please, thank you. No, please, thank you. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, my esteemed co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen, I strongly hope that with the motion believed in this House so far, which states that this House believes that nationalism has no place in school curriculum, should fall. Thank you.
I would like to invite the third speaker of the team proposition.
Hi everybody. So what have us proposition proven to you so far in the debate? One, that nationalism in the school curriculum hinders child development, by this I mean harms it. Two, the priority should not be nationalism, rather it should be increasing the standard of education in our schooling careers. And three, the way in which what you learn from a young age affects international relations in the near future. Now, I just want to speak about this. I know it's not really part of the rebuttal, but I think you need a lesson. I'm happy right now, and I love you guys because you have a complete wrong definition of the word nationalism. Ladies and gentlemen, you are confusing the word nationality with nationalism. In my last POI with your second speaker, Deborah, I asked her, please define nationalism. And she said, it's countries, it's bringing them together, it's a country you come from, expressions, etc., etc. No, ladies and gentlemen, that is nationality, whether they are European, Nigerian, or South Africa, not nationalism. Instead, in our first speaker's speech, we stated that nationalism is impose the good beliefs that you have on your country
on others. By this we mean impose, by telling them, you know what, this is my country, this is my law, and I think this is the way to go, your country is wrong. That is nationalism. Patriotism is a good thing. Patriotism is when you're proud of your country. Ladies and gentlemen, I live in South Africa, yeah, I love the beaches, I love the nightlife, but at the same time, I love that in America, you can be 16 and drive. How cool is that? And I love this because I'm not taught that only the laws in my country are correct. Instead, I am taught that every country has a specific way of ruling, and this way of ruling is based on the population. Now on this, I want to speak about the country Saudi Arabia. Now ladies and gentlemen, we do know that Saudi Arabia is a majority of Muslim people, and they are run by Muslim government. And therefore, because it's a majority of Muslim people, the ruling is quite religious. And they say, okay, you can't wear things this long, you can't wear things this short, there's rules and regulations. And if we impose nationalism, just say on people in South Africa, if I go to Saudi Arabia and I pitch up there with my shorts and I tell someone, you know what, you can't wear something like this, you can't wear a tank top. That's like saying I'm going against their religion, because after all, in that country, their laws are based on their religion as well. And I don't think anybody should disrespect anyone else's religion. Now, today's debate, I found about 20 contentions, but unfortunately I only have time for 6 issues, so let me get started. Now, the next thing I want to go on is influence, and that's exactly what I spoke about with Saudi Arabia, and how what you learn from a young age will influence on you. And I love that you guys spoke to me about how you can go to other countries, you can associate, etc., etc. But that is patriotism, that is sharing your knowledge, and we love that. We want to share knowledge with other countries. We love to come to Czech Republic and learn about the specific areas, learn about their way of life, and share what we live. But at the same time, we are not saying that they are wrong. We are not saying that our way of life is correct, ladies and gentlemen. No, instead, we are just sharing ideas. And that is the concept of nationalism, which you got completely incorrect. Okay, the next thing, I want to use the judges as an example. Now, we have 3 judges here. If they were taught from a young age that their school curriculum was the best, and this is nationalism, that what they learn in their country is correct, how can they stand here and fairly judge us, people from other countries? Because in respect, they will think that only their way is correct. Rather, you need to be open-minded and you need to understand other people as well. The next thing I want to speak about is education, and this is where you contradicted yourself. First, you said Nigeria has 633, sorry. Then you said South Africa may have 533. Then you said afterwards that if someone in South Africa comes to Nigeria, first you think then they're going to have the same thing and they'll understand each other. Then you say if someone from South Africa comes to Nigeria, they're going to be so confused because they're only learning about their country. Exactly my point, ladies and gentlemen. If we learn at an international level, someone from South Africa can go to Europe and study and know what they're talking about. I want to use this example. You and I both know that water is good. It helps us to survive, etc., etc. You and I both know that if you drink hydrochloric acid, you will die. So in the end of the day, the basis of education is exactly the same. Despite the religion it's taught in, the time it's taught in, at the end of the day, you are learning the same basic concepts of life. Let's look at our parents, for example. When we are little, our parents teach us how to walk with our 2 feet and our legs. Now, growing up, you're not going to say, oh, you know what, let me change this view and start walking on my hands. No, because from a young age, ladies and gentlemen, you are brought up with this. It is proven that from the age of 1 to 16 is where your brain is actually like a sponge, and it's influenced by most things. It takes in most things. Let's use drugs as an example. And when students are disturbed and go on drugs, the main thing you hear, they're brought up in a bad background. Exactly my point. As much as the way you are brought up at home influences you in your future, education does so as well. If you have a bad education, when you grow up, what do you have in life? Nothing. So this is my point, ladies and gentlemen. By being taught nationalism, you are learning that your way is correct, no other way is correct. How can you further in life? How can you go into life thinking that you are the only person and your country is the only country that can succeed? Because that is the meaning of nationalism. I emphasize, nationalism is believing in your country and imposing their laws, beliefs, and traditions on someone else in a negative way by down-minding their country. Now, the next thing I want to speak about is expression. Now, with expression, you say firstly that we need to express our views. We need to tell people, share with people what we like, what our country likes. And yes, I understand that. I mean, I could stand here the entire day and speak to you about how amazing it is to go to a mall in South Africa. You know, it's cool. But that's because I'm not taught nationalism. That's because in my textbook, it doesn't tell me that South Africa has the best malls in the world. No, I know if I go to Dubai, I'm going to get things 10 times better, ladies and gentlemen. So you need to understand this. You need to understand that there's always going to be something better. Yes, your way may be suited for you, but at the same time, like I said, every country is ruled and taught according to their population and the people that live in it, ladies and gentlemen. And by being taught at an international level that every country has a specific way, you will understand other countries. You will understand why their government does what they do. You will understand why their people dress like they do, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what we need to learn. We have the United Nations. It was built to unite all nations. And imagine, 5 main powers. Let's speak about Japan and America. If Japan are thinking, you know what, my country's the best. My way of running school, I make the best this, I do the best that, blah, blah, blah. Then you go to, sorry for saying blah, 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 no, that's rude. Then you go to America and they think, I'm the best, I can do this, I can do that. Every other country falls flat. Isn't there going to be conflict in the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen? I emphasize united because it means bringing together, and nationalism is a complete opposite of this. Now, I want to tell you that I'm proud of myself for standing here and telling you that I'm patriotic to my country, but at the same time, I have respect for other countries. I want you to prove to me, firstly, understand nationalism, and secondly, prove to me how putting this in the curriculum, as by teaching people that only their way is right, you're going to enforce the things that you said. I thank you.
Now I would like to call the third speaker of the opposition team to continue in this debate.
Good day, everybody. My name is Kingston Ifeokwe. I'm representing Nigeria and also supporting my colleagues I'm supporting my colleagues to oppose this motion, which states that nationalism has no place in the school curriculum. But firstly, I want to summarize my 10 points and also states that nationalism brings about cultural aspect. That's in the means of cultural aspect. If we were to be thinking about a cultural aspect in our environment, that's in our educational curriculum, we would develop more mentally and physically, because if other nations come into our country, we will have confusion all everywhere. We'll have confusion everywhere, and we will not be able to understand, because this will bring about cultural aspects in terms of they'll be speaking of something else, while we'll be speaking of something that's the language interaction.
Please, sir. Okay, you say they'll be speaking about something and you'll be speaking about something. Exactly why we shouldn't influence nationalism, so people learn at an international level and be able to associate with each other. Okay, yeah?
No, please.
Okay, let me explain, sorry. Okay, so you're saying that they'll be confused if they come to that country because they learn at different levels, am I right? So therefore I say, if we do not influence nationalism, these countries will know and respect other countries, and therefore when they come to your country, they'll be able to understand you better.
If, I understand your point, but if nationalism, in terms of cultural aspects, comes into a country, they will not be, in terms of cultural aspects, they will not be able to develop our mental behavior as our education in our educational aspect. And also, no, please, thank you. And also, I want to talk about. I heard you say something about development in mental development. That's development. But I want you to know that when, in terms of development, when we bring about our culture into our nation, no, please, thank you. When we bring about culture into our nation to develop our mental behavior, we can also learn about aspects of our environment. So through this, nationalism has a place in school curriculum, because if we have been taught about the things, thank you. If you have been taught about the things other countries do, we will be able to understand and also be able to control our self-beliefs. Thank you. And I want to talk about discrimination. If, in case of nationalism, if people yes.
So we're saying that culture is still going to be taught in school. We're just taking the nationalistic aspect where you're imposing the view that yours is superior above all others.
I don't understand.
So we're saying that with the cultural aspect of which you like in today's debate is still maintained in school, but we're saying that we're taking away the nationalistic aspect where we're imposing this view on these children and forcing them to believe this and forcing them to believe it's about all else.
If we bring into our country, people of different religion or people from different states or countries into our country and also teach about this cultural aspect, some of them may not know about, okay, let me ask you this question. Do you know about our cultural beliefs? No. So I want to talk about this cultural aspect in the sense that, I want to talk about this cultural aspect in the sense that all these house can also understand and also believe. This cultural aspect, yes, sometimes that.
Okay, you said that we will know about your country, etc. Yes, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. If you have nationalism, you believe that your country is above all others. If you don't have it, you then will understand your countries and will be able to understand yours because all countries will be part of my curriculum and part of what I learn. So therefore, I respect them. Okay, sorry. Okay, so you say that I won't know your cultural beliefs. And I'm saying this is because of nationalism, because with nationalism, you believe that your country is above all others. All your beliefs and traditions is above all others. Therefore, if we do not have nationalism and take it out of the curriculum, I'll be learning about all the diverse nations, and therefore I'll be able to understand you better.
If nationalism is introduced into our society, as you say, we will be able to improve our social belief and also our cultural aspects in life. Then I want to move over to the next point that says religiously, as you just mentioned. We can improve our religious aspects of life in terms of nationalism, because if we are only thinking about our religious aspects, we can also develop mentally and spiritually. Because if other countries or other continents come into our society or our country, they might mix up every religion, and also we might not be able to understand languages or anything or anything from the other country. Then I want to also talk about the decrease in population. To summarize my 10 points, my second speaker already talked about the decrease in population. But I want this house to know that, please. Okay, thank you. But I want this house to know that in a society, that sometimes there are increase in population, but because of bringing into or because of people understanding our sense of geographical area, thank you, they might come into the country and this will increase the population. But when nationalism is introduced into our school curriculum, there will be decrease in population. And also, I want to talk about this, the cooperation. If nationalism, yes.
Okay, so you spoke about religion. I want to speak about the Roman Catholic Church to you. Now, their views of religion were ones that went against human rights, as in gay people, black people, and women. So now you're trying to say that religion is not going to be promoted if you learn about all of them, rather just learn about your own.
No, seems like you misunderstood me. I'm saying that our country should promote it, not to just. I like your opinion about it, but I want this house to know that in the religious aspect, that nationalism should be introduced into our school curriculum so that we can develop religiously, politically, and all the way around. Then I also want to talk about the decrease of the cooperation in schools. If nationalism if nationalism is introduced into our school curriculum, is introduced into our school curriculum, we will be able to understand and also cooperate among ourselves. Because if other countries come into our society or community, we will not be able to understand the subject that has been taught in school, and we will not be able to understand the sense of geography. So I want to let this house know that. Nationalism has a place in school curriculum which can help to develop mentally, physically, and also in the educational aspect of cooperation. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to invite the opposition reply speaker to finish their case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to come out to raise my team's position. My wonderful co-debater, please, I have only one question. That handbag that you're away from your country, where is it got it from? That handbag, the red one. You see, now in terms of this, we now know about their own culture, and they are also going to know about our own culture. If at all we answer the question, he would have also shown what nationalism has brought. When they were not allowed to enter our own country to study our own cultural aspects, not this time, this time. We were not allowed to go into their own country and learn about our own cultural aspects, and they are not allowed to go into our own country and learn about the cultural aspects. When we go into an international debate here, thanks to you, we are going to be able to understand what they do. Then I asked him a question, he couldn't answer. And also, I also hear about her talking about the United, about the people being able to drive in the United States, which I think is kind of cool. But don't you that if other people are not allowed into your country to come and study, and then like now she comes and asks you about it and tells you about it, you'll be able to understand it. And you, as an indigene of the United States, will feel proud. You feel that your culture is being valued. Same in the educational system. I also overheard my opponent talk about expression. Mr. Speaker, we only talk about the nationalism and school beliefs. How does that concept, how does expression concept us? And you also said about the cultural aspect, like she said, that my wonderful third speaker and second speaker and third speaker here, so that if you go to a place like Saudi Arabia and raise something a short period and then go to a country, they impose their cultural aspect on you. They won't be able to impose their cultural aspect in you if you didn't go to the country in the first place. We cannot say that if nationalism is put in place, it brings about a violation of our natural rules and regulations. We value it and it's stuck to law. And recently, I'd like to give something that happened between Nigeria and an African country. A student of Nigeria went to an African country and was kind of like having a foreign exchange program. So nationalism, which was not introduced into that country. The student went into the country, he didn't understand anything, and this brought a bit of diplomatic relationship because we now found that the Nigerian fought with an expatriate in someone else's country due to nationalism process because they didn't understand the culture of it. So that's that if nationalism is brought in place, everybody is going to enjoy everything. I'd like to summarize my team's point, which my opponents have not talked about. Mr. Speaker, so we cannot say that in terms of this argument that we're talking about, my proposition team here, they are not talking about the educational and nationalism. They try to confuse my speaker about nationalism, but they are only talking about the political aspect of it. I mean, we're only talking about education. Okay, you see that they improve educational aspect. As you're studying, you tell me about your country, I tell you about my country. We not enjoy it and feel free to understand. Please answer. I need to slow because of the time. I really need to repeat that. In place of development, when we started, my first speaker here talked about development that a child takes in and takes out. I can't agree with that. But what if a child takes in something that is wrong? And for example, like let's see, I come from Nigeria, you are from USA. I come to your country when nationalism was not going on, and I come and put a negative impact on the student there. Don't you think it brings about disintegration there? It doesn't be about anything. So whatever you took in, like she said in the sponge, as the sponge takes out water, we now find that the sponge takes out the water. So I don't think what they really say happened. They only talk about the political aspect. They didn't say anything about education. They didn't say anything about the bridge in diplomatic relations between Nigeria and the African country that I just talked about. And the educational system, they just say that they just give let me say like a little explanation into the education difference that one. But they didn't give an insight into it. That when a child he might spend a longer time in Nigeria. If he's from South Africa, they have a shorter educational curriculum. And in Nigeria, we have a longer educational curriculum. She didn't give an example of how they are going to cope in a longer educational curriculum because in Nigeria, we believe in patience, that patience is a virtue. But they don't talk about the educational curriculum that we talk about. They didn't talk about the evaluation of educational curriculum. And now, you say that in America, it's kind of cool, which I believe so. But it doesn't make any sense. So I believe that team preposition didn't go into the main things that we're talking about here. Thank you.
And the reply speaker for the team proposition, I end this debate.
Firstly, let me just ask the question that the opposition reply speaker asked to us, and which we couldn't answer because it was a reply speech. But so I have a red string on my hand as well, right? And this is because my country doesn't teach me nationalism, because this is an Indian tradition which came from India. So therefore, because my country doesn't just impose its beliefs on me, I can use the string on my hand. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we feel that side opposition in today's debate was rather confused in the line that they took. Because we see that firstly, they didn't understand the concept of nationalism. They didn't understand what nationalism was, which was rather weird because they actually chose the motion in the first place. So now nationalism, ladies and gentlemen, like we clearly came out here and told you, is when you impose the beliefs that you have of your country on others. When you impose them on others, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what they fail to understand in today's debate. But now, assuming and not conceding that they did understand what nationalism was, the only actual matter that we got from them in today's debate was that nationalism helps join people together and it helps the integration. And on a second level, it helps with cultural aspects. So looking at this first aspect, that being integration. So now, we see that they came out here and they told us that the people of the country are going to be integrated because of nationalism, because you're all going to be taught the same thing, blah, blah, blah. Oops, sorry. So now, because he said that, now what we see is that that's not the case, ladies and gentlemen, because we see that because of this, it's imposing on the minorities' views in a country. We look at a country like South Africa that has a lot of different cultures in it, but obviously they're not going to teach the entire country's beliefs to the people in school. They're going to teach the majorities. Now what we as a proposition were focusing on throughout the cross-power case was the minorities and also the majorities, and we showed you how the majorities would benefit. So now, ladies and gentlemen, because of that, that entire issue falls to side proposition. Now looking at the second issue that they actually brought up in today's debate was this cultural aspects. And they told us that people from other countries won't be able to understand and when they come because nationalism is a part of the school curriculum. But what we as side proposition say that is, if nationalism is a part of the curriculum, these people won't want to understand. But we want them to have an opinion and decide on their own whether they want to learn about other people or not. And then they came out here and they told us that there's going to be confusion. Now what we as side proposition say to this is that confusion is good, because that means people are going to ask questions. And if people are going to ask questions, that's going to establish good relationships. Like my second speaker spoke to you about the benefits of relationships created. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at what we as side proposition proved to you in today's debate. Well, we proved to you that nationalism at a young age hinders a child's development. And they didn't rebut that. We said on the second level, we proved to you that it forces one-track, single-minded ideas on people, and we want a society that is not single-minded, which they didn't deal with. On a third level, we see that we dealt with the fact that it creates room for discussion. And they didn't tell us how nationalism is going to help people argue with each other in society and create room for discussion. And that's what we needed to see from them. On a second level, they didn't show us how their system is going to improve the standard of education. And then their reply speech, they told us something rather weird. They told us that throughout our speech, we were only talking about education. But ladies and gentlemen, that's what this debate is about, the school curriculum. And that's not what they focused on. So anyway, we came out here, in my second speaker speech, we spoke about how these things, imposing nationalism on children at school has a negative effect on international relations. And then they completely ignored this point, and all they told us was that the cultural aspect would be covered. But I've already dealt with this prior to this in my speech. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we as side proposition are patriotic to our country, but we are not nationalists, because we want to learn more about Nigeria.